I'll be honest, I kind of see now why people invest in a circle light, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
So, you got a light?
I got a lot of lights, but nowhere to plug them in.
Hello, my little wordlings, coming from my living room to you, and I had a great experience today. So, there was a notice on Facebook Marketplace that this lady was giving away a bunch of books, and she had a time for people to come today, and she said, just bring a bag and take what you want. I'm like, okay, let's go see what this is about. So many books. It made me so happy because I love going through books, and I wasn't the only one there, and there was other people there who love books and went through them, and I think my husband actually got more books than me, which is weird. So I thought I'd let you see my book haul. I think they might have been psychologists because there were a lot of psychology books. So we got this one called Readings in Abnormal Psychology. And I have a more up-to-date version, but this one's really old. The reason I got this one is for a chapter called A Model of Hysterical and Hypnotic Blindness, Cognition, Motivation, and Awareness. Now, that is a form of functional neurological disorder of what we call it now. But given the fact that there hasn't been that much research in it, something this old, which is actually referencing the DSM-3, is still relevant. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to do a little more research on this book before I read it because it seems interesting, but it crosses some lines that make me uncomfortable. So it's called Black Like Me by John Howard Griffin. So apparently he was a big proponent of racial equality, and he was part of the civil rights movement. But what he did is he pretended to be a black man and see what they went through. On the surface, seems okay. Still makes me very uncomfortable, but I'm going to make sure that this is an okay book to read and it is accepted as history that is worth knowing before I read it. This one looked so cool. So it's called Rough on Rats, the 1887 Dream Book and Almanac. And it has pictures of ads in here. So it's not actually from 1887. I don't even think it has a publishing date in here. But it has like the typical snake oil salesman kind of ads in here.
Not so here at Dr. Jonathan Tronley's Medicinal Menagerie.
You know, something that cures all skin diseases. So it just looked really cool. It's gonna be fun. The physiological effects of transcendental meditation. And that's, there's a card in here. I love it when there's cards and notes and stuff in old books. I can't wait to see that. Just something I find very interesting, and I know this is a little out of date, and transcendental meditation does not have the same cachet as it did in the 1970s, but I still find it very interesting, especially because I've been looking more into LSD and psilocybin as treatment methods. So let's see where that one goes. So this book didn't actually look like it fit in with the rest of her books because most of them are on this. It looks like a newer book. So it's called Are You Somebody? The Accidental Memoir of a Dublin Woman. She entered middle age alone and depressed. Her professional success did little to ease her longing for a deep connection to the world. In this extraordinary memoir, O'Fallon has distilled her experiences into wisdom that can only come from an obstinate refusal to shrink from life. The story of how she defines herself outside of the traditional roles assigned to women provided an exhilarating example of courage, honesty, and bold living. Eye Psychology by Dr. Urin. Okay, I have to show. So he signs his. Can you see that? He signs his name there, and then he signs his name there. So I actually have to probably look it up to find out how to pronounce his name. And it's just a really short book on different areas of psychology, and it's almost, I'm assuming, like a Cole's Notes version of certain psychological issues. Okay, this one, I'll be honest, I took it because of the title, Growing Up Naked, by Linda Lee Tracy. I hold my body straight, balancing on the ball of one foot, spinning, 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 reaching my arms into the darkness above me, wet and tired, not naked and small, but swollen in myself, fiercely proud, complete. The men are cheering. I love it. Okay, based on that, I assumed it was about a person who is a sex worker, and then I flipped to chapter 6, Canada's top young show exotic. So, yes, this is going to be a great read. This one is so out of date, science and spook, but it's emblematic of the kind of books they had there. They had a lot of books on UFOs and parapsychology, and I wish I could have known these people. I wanted to sit with the lady and talk with her and find out more of what she knew. So,
who dares enter my den?
It is I, Prince Fabius, and my brother, Prince Thaddeus. We come to seek counsel.
So this one has the scientists on the back and doesn't have much of what the book's about, but I think the title is kind of self-explanatory. Judge it by the cover. I'm really hoping there's nothing wrong with this, because when I heard about the guy who made Dilbert, I was really sad, because I actually really liked Ziggy. I thought he was cute. And this is a preview copy, which makes it even better.
It's my world. You can have it if you want it.
Okay, this is a book on Immanuel Kant. And they actually had a book written by Kant, but I wanted to read something shorter. Portnoy's Complaint by Philip Roth. Philip Roth is a very good author, so I don't even know what this is about. I've read other books by him, so stick with what I like. This one, the 21st Pan Book of Horror Stories. I don't even know, did I look to see who some of the authors are? Carl Schiffman, Thomas Mearson, Fay Wolf, Alex White. No, Stephen King, 2 Stephen King books or stories in here, so... Explore the dark caverns of the unknown in this collection of unspeakable horror. His gray and pink brains oozed from his shattered skull and trickled down his eyeless face. Cool. Okay, this one I got Masters of the Short Story because it had Franz Kafka, it had James Joyce, it had Rudyard Kipling, it has Edgar Allan Poe, The Black Cat, which I have in a few other books, but yeah. Classical authors, classical stories. Can't go wrong. I don't think I have a copy of Wuthering Heights. I have to check my list, but I took it just in case I don't have a copy. I never finished Wuthering Heights. All these are dusty. I'm trying to get some of the dust off. Yeah, I've never read Wuthering Heights. That's pretty bad, eh? I've read Jane Eyre. Love Jane Eyre. So if I read this one, then I have to run by the third sister as well. Gotta catch them all. My husband saw this one and he thought I'd like it. It's called Witches, Pagans, and Magic in the New Age. I do like New Age books sometimes. I like reading about different religions in general. There's a chapter called Radical Witchcraft, and it's Canadian and looks feminist. So, 2 boxes that I usually try to check when I buy a book that I don't know much about. I swear I heard the title before, but I bought it because it looked interesting. So it's called The Crazy Ape. And I don't know why it sounded familiar. I don't know what it's about. The fundamental question asked by this book is, why is it that most of the scientific research that is done to elevate human life serves the end to destroy it? That this phenomenon exists is unarguable. How to alter it is the problem the author tackles. Okay, The Tigers of the Snow. I took this one because the first sentence in the introduction, this anthology is totally Canadian. And I like reading as many authors in Canada as I can. Oh, Sinclair Ross is in here. I love Sinclair Ross. He's pretty awesome. Robert Fontaine, not familiar. But yeah, that should be a good read. Okay, this one I'm pretty sure I don't own, but I wanted a copy because I do like having books on my shelf as trophies to prove I read them, and I read this one a long time ago. Whoa. Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. That's how I was told to pronounce it in school. If that's not how you do it, fuck me. Anyway, I remember reading it and having difficulty with some parts, but because I had to read it, once I got into it, I was happy I'd read it. So Yes. Bernard Shaw, Major Barbara. I read more plays than I see. Ernest Hemingway, The Old Man and the Sea. Just the cover on this one. Alfred Hitchcock presents stories for late night. Yeah, awesome, eh? Who's in here? Ray Bradbury, Roald Dahl, which again problematic, but whatever. Philip MacDonald, Evelyn Waugh. Oh, she's a good one. Ooh, there's 2 novelettes and a full novel in here by Margaret Millar. So that's gonna be good. First, let's say it's a scrapbook, so it's literally pictures, but it seems like they cut out pictures from newspapers and put them in this book. And it was probably for students at some point. But it seemed really interesting. But this one made me so happy, and I can't really explain why. Unpopular science. And the pyramid power is what got me. ESP plants. There's so many cool things in here, and it's set out like little articles. Psychic, Uri Geller, and UFO energy alternatives. But this is the back of the book, which makes it gold. This is exactly what you want on the back of a book like this. So I have a small collection of books that I keep just because I think they're cool, but I'm never actually going to read them. So, like, I have some older books from the 1800s that I keep purely because they're old books, but I don't want to read them. This is going to be one of those books that I'm keeping just because it's cool. The Rat Brain. And that's all it is. It's obviously made for educational purposes, but it's just lots and lots of different pictures of rat brains and how they function. This one is a really sweet story. So she had a few binders of books. When I say binder, like binders that had a book in each of them. And she said that at some point in time, her daughter had not been able to afford things for her, but still wanted to buy her mom Christmas gifts. And she couldn't afford to buy a Christmas gift, but she did have a computer and a printer. So what she did is she printed out books with the title page and everything. The whole book is in here. There's even a CD-ROM with the book. So she could give her mom books for Christmas, which is just so sweet if you think about it. And so she had like 4 or 5 different ones like this. And I took The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck because I've never read it. I went to French school, so I didn't have to read a lot of these books that other people had to read. I had to read books that you didn't have to read, so it works out. Good. This is Animal Farm by George Orwell. So again, another book I've never read. I did read 1984 though, and this looks like a really cool edition. Okay, I have to look. When was this published? These little red books usually are older. The 5th edition, 1962. F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Beautiful and the Damned. Emily Dickinson, Selected Poems. The Science of the X-Files. And yes, I might have giggled and squealed a little bit when I found this one. Okay, William Faulkner, As I Lay Dying. I might own this one. Or The Sound and the Fury. I might own this one. I know I got one of these on my shelf, but I wanted to take it. I'd rather take it and then give it to a friend if I already have a copy than not take it and be like, shit, I wanted it. I don't remember grabbing this one. I think my husband might have grabbed this for me. The Good Earth by Pearl S. Buck, a classic novel of pre-revolutionary China. I like anything from a perspective that I've never really read about before. Though more than 60 years have passed since this remarkable novel won the Pulitzer Prize, it has retained its popularity and become one of the great modern classics. I can only write what I know, and I know nothing but China, having always lived there, wrote Pearl Buck. In The Good Earth, she presents a graphic view of a China where the last emperor reigned and the vast political and social upheavals of the 20th century were but distant rumblings for the ordinary people. Okay, this is going to be a great book. Yes, there's more. Okay, Narratives of Indian Captives. Now, on the surface, this is from Trent University in 1981. On the surface, this seems absolutely awful. But in the end, it is actually telling stories of people who usually don't have their stories told. It's going to be hard to read, it looks like, even just based on that. The history of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in Canada is heartbreaking, and I try to read as much as I can about it in any media because I think it's important to bear witness, at the very least, to know what happened and not dismiss it like it's the past. What does it matter? The past is still here. It's still affecting things. So there you go. Soapbox rant over. I usually don't read history books, but this one, and a Bantam War book, I used to read Bantam books. This is called Samurai, the unforgettable saga of Japan's greatest fighter pilot, the legendary Angel of Death. I actually remember like watching movies where they'd mention it and reading books where they'd mention it. I think they even talked about it in school a little bit, so I think this is going to be a good one. Okay, the developmental neuropsychology of sensory deprivation. So this is an oldie because sensory deprivation, especially when testing it, is considered immoral and unethical, so you're not supposed to do it anymore. But, oh yeah, that makes sense. But there's something very interesting about it. And I remember reading a book, I don't know when I read it, but it was called Door to December by Dean Koontz. And it talked about a girl who was rescued and she had experienced severe sensory deprivation. And I've always had a fascination with it afterwards. I know I should be more horrified, and I am, but I need to know. I got the Tao Te Ching and The Way of Life by Lao Tzu. I did almost read most of the Tao Te Ching at one point. Ooh, I didn't even flip through this because my husband had grabbed it for me first. But it's got The Life by Lao Tzu. So it says what he said and then it paraphrases. I don't mind explanation from my dumbass. Lady Chatterley's Lover. Henry James, The Portrait of a Lady. Even though Henry James has screwed me over on other books, I'm going to try it again. Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I've read Frankenstein, but I've never read Dracula. Okay, this one it's like someone recovered it. It has nothing on it, so I was like, what have we here? And it says, The Silent Past, Mysterious and Forgotten Cultures of the World. And I have not flipped through it more than that. I grabbed it right away because I'm interested to know. Okay, it talks about Syria. Ooh, pictures. Always love pictures. And last but not least, Primer of Freudian Psychology. It was 75 cents back in the day. So I used to hate these kind of books. I used to read them when I was younger. I don't know why, but it's like I need a little bit more space from the bottom of the page. There's a psychological barrier I can't get beyond when I'm reading, that it feels like, oh my god, this page is going on forever. I'd rather have it thicker than have long pages. Genital sexuality. Alright. I'm glad that was the first page I flipped to. So, that's not even all the books we got. Those are the books I got. We got some for the kid. The husband got a lot of books. And she said she's going to post when she's giving away more, so well, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you read and read and read if you have any time. If you don't, listen and listen and listen, because there's always words out there. Take care. Bye-bye.